Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of OK Xoomer. I'm Aaron Lichtig, Xometry guy and former Jeopardy champion, and as always, I will be your host today. And I'm really excited to be here with Karina Popovich. She is a rising sophomore at Cornell University, an avid maker, and a social entrepreneur. And in fact, she is the founder and CEO of Makers for COVID-19, which is one of the largest coalitions of makers to donate 3D printed PPE. And they have donated over 66,000 units of PPE since their founding. So welcome, Karina. We're so glad to have you here.
Hi, Aaron. I'm super happy to be here and super happy to share my story.
Awesome. So how did Makers for COVID-19 get started?
That is definitely a very interesting story because, as everything was going down with COVID-19, we all got sent back from college. I came back home to Brooklyn, New York, couldn't really travel anymore. And prior to Makers for COVID-19, I really loved to teach girls everywhere about 3D printing and really get youth just excited and inspired about 3D printing and additive manufacturing and how they can really, be engineers and be creative through it. So I was doing a lot of that. And after COVID hit, couldn't really travel anymore to teach. And I kind of had 3 3D printers that were just laying around idly, not doing much. And a lot of my friends had heard about people 3D printing PPE. And, me being 19 years old, I was like, why even bother? Nobody's going to take a 19-year-old girl's printed PPE. Like, what world do we live in? Turns out that that's the world that we live in.
They do. So, a lot of people will. Yeah.
Exactly. So very quickly, I kind of, did a bunch of research. I was really hesitant about it, but did a bit of research, and before I knew it, I was just jumping right into it. And I realized that, there's just information overload and so much information that's actually leading makers down the wrong path. And, early on, there were tons of people printing ventilator valves when they shouldn't have. And there was just so much misinformation and lack of guidance that I realized, there needed to be some way to kind of everyone to get together, share resources, and figure out what is actually accurate and what isn't, and how to also help these makers connect to these medical facilities. Because at the end of the day, like if you were someone that wanted to 3D print PPE, you had to go through extensive research. You had to go through NIH, FDA, regulations, and see what your face shield model met. You had to go and contact a medical facility. You had to go secure funding through a GoFundMe or whatever to, pursue this project and actually donate on a regular basis. And for every maker to be doing that just seemed like a lot. So I wanted to create an organization that made it really simple and easy for anyone who has a 3D printer to just help out and to just join in the effort. So, Makers for COVID-19 was born out of just the whole idea of sourcing information and having everything be in a convenient spot where, you could rely on the information you were getting. And very quickly it grew into so much more, into the full-fledged vision of actually supplying PPE to medical facilities, to, reimbursing our makers for their materials, and doing really kind of the start to finish process.
So what is coming up over the next few months for Makers for COVID-19? You're still going strong amidst a pretty big need.
Yeah, there's a lot of really exciting things going on. I can talk about a few of them briefly, but the first is, a lot of makers got really burnt out because of, everyone was just trying to be a full-time PPE 3D printer. Our 3D printers got burnt out. People that were printing got burnt out, and this wasn't sustainable. So myself, along with some other organizations, were trying to come up with the best way to keep people 3D printing at a sustainable measure. So that's really, really exciting. The second most exciting thing that's happening is we as an organization have gotten to partner with several other organizations in a way in which we get to kind of source demand for medical facilities and then outsource this demand for them to fulfill. And for a lot of these other maker groups that are out there, having a whole team dedicated to outreach to these medical facilities and, gathering all the details to create a full-fledged, request, whether that be, someone's phone number, someone's email, someone's address, and all these details is just difficult. So we kind of wanted to use the power of students, since our organizing team is roughly 20 students at this point, and just kind of get together and solve this problem for other maker organizations so that they can focus on making. So that's the approach that we took. And the third really fun thing that's going on is we are really pushing for our face shields to be recycled and reused. The beauty of 3D printed face shields is that it's as simple as taking off the clear sheet and putting on a fresh one and cleaning the face shield frame. So, at the end of the day, we're really trying to, take this opportunity as a way to create more sustainable PPE and also make this more cost efficient and cost effective for the medical facilities out there that don't have the resources or the funding to afford disposable face shields on a regular basis for all of their medical staff.
That's great. Now, how did you become interested in additive manufacturing to begin with?
I was very, very lucky and very, very privileged. I got to go to high school in Brooklyn called Brooklyn Technical High School. Really long history there with that school, but we were all, in our freshman year of high school, we all had to take DDP, which is Digital Design. I forget what the P stands for, but we basically learned CAD in Autodesk Fusion. And I fell in love with the ability to be able to create and make whatever it is I had in mind. And to me, I felt like 3D printing was just the perfect kind of symbol for engineering, because with a 3D printer, you can make something out of nothing. And that was very kind of symbolic of engineering and what engineering was like. So I almost felt like I had a superpower anytime I 3D printed something or I designed something in CAD, which is why I fell in love with just the idea of making and prototyping and building, and at this point have 6 different 3D printers, have a laser cutter. One of my 3D printers is a chocolate 3D printer, and
cool.
Yeah, it's lots of fun. And so just love being able to make things.
Nice. And so as you look at your career post-college, what kind of things are you thinking about doing?
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I'm already thinking about what my next startup is going to be. And one really big problem that I want to solve is the waste produced from 3D printing. As you know, supports, calibration, failed prints, they all result in just wasted plastic, which isn't that easy to recycle, and you can't just compost it. So having an easy service that lets everyone recycle their PLA and their other plastics from a standard FDM printer is something that I want to pursue. I really don't believe that sustainability should be super inexpensive. I don't think people or 3D printer owners should have to buy, a whole melting machine and have a whole melting rig in their house to just kind of be more sustainable with their 3D printing. So working to solve that problem and provide some sort of service that's accessible to everyone and is also cost effective is what I want to be working on next.
Awesome. Well, Karina, thank you so much for joining us today on OK Xoomer. It's been a great experience learning about the makers for COVID-19, as well as some of your other future plans.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here, and I hope we stay in touch more.
For sure. Well, everybody, thanks for watching and listening. This has been another episode of OK Zoomer. We'll be back in another 2 or 3 days with the next one. Take care, everyone.